Are your beliefs silently holding you back from the life that you deserve? In episode 10 of The Brain Changes, we uncover why your beliefs might be sabotaging your success and, more importantly, how you can break free and take back control of your mind to make lasting and impactful change. So stay tuned because this could be the breakthrough that you have been waiting for. Welcome to The Brain Changes, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebecca and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of The Brain Changes, where we dive deep into the power of your mind and how to use it to live a better, more fulfilling life. I'm Yvonne, and joining me as usual is my daughter and partner in Brain Changing, Rebecca.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here again with you today. Now, we're following on from a previous episode today where we introduce you to what lies beneath the surface layers of change. So that is, as we call it in NLP terms, the neurological levels. Now, if you remember back to that episode, we explained these levels in the form of a pyramid. So we stepped you through the first three: environment, behaviors, and skills, which are the three that we most often focus our efforts on, but they're just the beginning. So true change really requires deeper work. And that's why today we're tackling a topic that is as old as time, but still has the power to completely transform your life. Yes, it's those little things in our heads that tell us what's possible and what's not. And they are the next layer in the pyramid.
That's right, Beck. Beliefs can be a little bit tricky to explain because they're intangible things. So I like to describe them as the software that's running in the background of our minds, determining everything from how we see ourselves to how we interact with the world. And just like software, they can be updated or completely rewritten.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy. I love that. But before we dive into how to change beliefs, I want to talk a little bit about what beliefs actually are and how they're formed. So picture this. Imagine your brain as a giant, super advanced library. Now, every book in this library is a belief you've picked up over the years. So perhaps you've picked this up from your parents or your caregivers, your teachers, even the media when you were really, really little.
That's right. And just like any library, some of these books are going to be bestsellers and they'll be empowering, inspiring, totally worth keeping. And others, well, they belong in the dustbin. They're not worth keeping. They haven't anything of value for us.
Yeah, exactly. Or we could just use them as coasters, right?
True. Yeah, some beliefs are definitely past their prime. For example, Beck, do you remember, you might remember this from your childhood, I certainly do. Someone told us that if we swallowed gum, it would stay in our stomach for 7 years. Do you remember that?
I sure do. Yep, I totally remember that about, if anybody remembers Hubba Bubba Bubble Gum, I can barely say it. My older brother and my cousin told me that and then dared me to swallow my gum. That sounds just like them, right? And
Oh, yes, definitely.
I remember thinking about it for ages. I mean, it was just a little kid thinking that I would have gum stuck in me for 7 years. How my body would know that it was 7 years and time
Yes,
to get rid of it, I don't know. And all it took was someone that I trusted, my older brother, saying it for me to believe it completely.
exactly. And on a serious note, that's how most of our beliefs are formed. It's someone that we trust, like a parent, a teacher, a friend, or even an older sibling. They say something and we take it as gospel truth. We treat beliefs like facts, but here's the kicker. They're not facts, and those beliefs stick around until we consciously decide to question them.
Yes, exactly. And most of these beliefs are formed when we're super young, before we're even 7. So between the ages of 0 and 7. And during this time, our brains are like little sponges. We soak up everything around us without much filtering. Because of course, as we get older, our brain is filtering this information. But when we're little, it's not filtering, it's actually creating these filters. So it's like kind of like being in a hypnotic state. And in fact, for young kids, imagination and reality are the same thing. They can't easily determine one from the other.
That's right. That's an interesting point that
Mm,
children don't have the ability to filter information well, do they?
no.
So, because of that, we can carry these beliefs into adulthood, even
Mm,
when they're no longer serving us, when they're no longer of any use to us. Something that, that a lot of people might um, recognize as a limiting belief, I guess, is I'm not good at public speaking, or
mm,
I'm not a morning person.
mm.
That's a typical response, isn't it?
Yes, and that morning person one, I can so relate to that one. I used to say that all the time until I realized that what I really believed was that mornings were awful because I associated them with stress.
Hmm.
I always were, and I'm talking several years ago, of course, I always woke up feeling tired because I wasn't sleeping well, because I was anxious, and I wasn't looking forward to going to my job back then. So that was the real reason that I didn't like mornings, but I'd created this belief around it that I'm not a morning person.
Okay, so your belief about mornings was actually being coloured by other things, other factors, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
so
that's right.
you changed that belief, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was making me feel really bleh. And so
Mhm.
I needed to change something because it was having a massive impact on even getting myself to work and then on the rest of my day. So I made my mind up to change the way I thought about mornings. Now, I know that probably sounds easy, right? But like everything, easier said than done.
True.
But what I did is I began associating mornings with a fresh start and a new opportunity each day. And I did actually change my environment. So this is actually showing that each of these layers doesn't sit in isolation. They all work together. Everything that we do, everything that we talk about all fits nicely in together. So I did actually make some changes in my environment. I got a new alarm clock. I changed my bedroom. I made it into a nice space. And I brought in some new behaviors as well to help support that belief. And so I actually began to look forward to mornings. I was able to change that belief so that it made it easier to get up in the morning and get on with my day and actually have a better day.
That's a perfect example of how we can shift our beliefs back. So it's kind of like getting a different perspective, reframing, seeing it from a different viewpoint, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Because here's the thing, just knowing a belief is there isn't enough.
No.
To actively work on changing it. And that's where the techniques we use in coaching actually come in.
Yeah, that's right. And one of those techniques that we use is inspired by Richard Bandler, who is the co-founder of neuro linguistic programming. And to give you an idea of how this works, let's use an example of a belief that you might have, like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
I use this one because it does come up a lot
a
in
lot.
coaching.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we think about ourselves, in fact, any belief that we have, we generally get a picture in our mind. It's how we process information. It's a visual representation. And so
Yes.
it's like we're sitting in a movie theater. We've all been in a movie theater.
Mhm.
So it's like we're sitting in a movie theater watching this scene play out on a big screen. It's life size, right?
Yes, but here's the twist. We're not in a movie, are we?
Mm-mm.
We're in the audience, actually. We're watching. So we're sitting there in the audience. We've got the popcorn or the Maltesers. We're in our comfy seat. And actually, we're in the driver's seat. We've got the power to control this movie.
Mm.
And when we change what we see in that movie, it's like taking all the color out of that movie. It's like changing it to black and white.
Yeah.
And we can actually go further. We could actually remove the noise from this movie and we could shrink it down to really, really small
Yeah.
in size. And by doing all of these things, we actually totally change the whole perspective of that movie. And by doing that, then we're changing the way that we see that movie, aren't we?
Yeah, and then we're even changing the way we feel about it. So when we start to mess with a scene like this, our goal is to distort it so it no longer feels real or intimidating.
Exactly. When you start to see that belief as nothing more than a silly, over the top movie scene, it actually loses its power over you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's in actual fact, it's just a film reel, something that you can edit, you can fast forward it, or actually you can reject it altogether. You can throw it out.
Yeah, and just like that, you've taken a belief that once felt so real and heavy and
Mhm.
turned it into something that you can laugh at.
Yeah.
And we're not making light of any of the beliefs that we have, but we're just giving a demonstration about how we change the perceptions, like reframing. And
Mm.
when you see it for what it really is, a story, not the truth, because remember, beliefs are not facts, you can start to rewrite the script in a way that serves you, in a
Yes.
way that is going to support the life that you want. And this is just one of the techniques that I use with my clients all the time in coaching. And we always calibrate at the beginning of a process and at the end because we need to be able to measure something. How can we know if we've made improvements or if something's changed if we can't measure it? So I have seen in coaching with my clients, I've seen clients go from feeling like this belief is a 10 out of 10 in terms of how much they believe it and how much it's a problem in their life, down
Mhm.
to a 1 or 2.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and that can happen in about 30 minutes.
Yes.
And it can
Mm.
even be done quicker. So meaning that 1 or 2 out of 10, meaning that they no longer believe it.
Yeah.
So, of course, we then move on to prove it because we want to make sure that that new belief is set in stone. And in a very short time, things completely change. It's quite incredible. And you
Mm.
can even start this process of changing a belief yourself. So you can ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it really true? And what is one small action that I can take to prove it wrong? And before you know it, that big, scary belief is not quite so scary. It's no longer the problem that you thought it was.
I really love those simple questions, Beck. It makes the process feel doable because sometimes when you look at a belief such as you mentioned, it
Mhm.
feels like a great big obstacle, doesn't it? But if we can
Yeah.
break it down and ask ourselves these simple questions, then it feels like something that we can do, even if we've struggled with it for many years.
Yeah.
I think we need to say this again. Remember, beliefs aren't facts. They're just stories that we've told ourselves so many times that we now feel as if they're true.
Hey there, listeners. This is Rebecca King, the Brain Changer, helping you revolutionize the way you think so you can live your life on purpose. If you're loving what you're learning here on The Brain Changers, we've got something special for you. Take back control of your own mind and truly connect with like-minded people by joining our Mind Masters Collective, a premium subscription membership for those who want to feel happy and confident again, to feel seen, heard, and valued at an incredibly affordable price. Inside, you'll gain exclusive access to a supportive community of people on the same journey as you, knowing they want something more and ready to invest in themselves to achieve it. You'll get loads of valuable resources and expert guidance on mastering your mind to help you live your absolute best life. You'll make new connections and friends that you didn't even know you needed. We'll get close and personal in monthly masterclasses with guest experts and monthly mastermind group coaching to help you navigate the challenges and celebrate the wins as you grow and change. Join us now by clicking the link in the show notes. We're all waiting excitedly for you to join us inside the collective. And speaking of stories, let's just talk about how beliefs shape our reality. So have you ever noticed how when you're thinking about buying a new car, for example, you suddenly see that car everywhere?
That's right. That's actually the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Yeah.
At work. It's actually like the search engine of our brain. And it's filtering out everything that doesn't match with what we're actually focusing on.
Yeah. So if you believe, for example, that you're unlucky in love, guess what? Your RAS is going to filter out all the potential good matches and only show you the people who reinforce that belief. So talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy, huh?
Yes, I think actually many of our listeners would appreciate that and wonder why it is that often the things that we think about do become our reality. But of course, the good news is, just like you can train your RAS to notice the car that you want, you can also train it to focus on more empowering beliefs. It's about shifting your focus, like we talked about in the movies.
Yeah, that's right. And let's be honest, sometimes we need a little humor to get through the process of changing beliefs. I mean, if you've spent years believing that you're a terrible cook because of one burnt toast incident, or for me, it was melting a microwave safe dish in the microwave, it's time to laugh about it and move on.
That's right. Humor is a very powerful tool in breaking down the walls of those limiting beliefs. It's like shining a light on the monsters under the bed, isn't it? Once you see them clearly, they're not so scary anymore.
Yeah, that's right. There was a whole movie about that. So here's a challenge for you, listeners. Think of one belief that you've been carrying around that's not serving you. So maybe it's about your ability, maybe it's about your worthiness, or even how you see the world. And then ask yourself those questions that we mentioned before to begin breaking it down, and to remind you they were, where did this belief come from? Is it really true? And what's one small action I can take to prove it wrong?
And don't forget to bring some humor into it.
Yeah.
Just imagine that belief as an outdated piece of software. Time to hit the uninstall button and make space for something better.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before we wrap up this episode about this next level in the pyramid of the 7 neurological levels, let's recap. Number 1, beliefs shape your reality. So the beliefs you hold, whether empowering or limiting, influence every aspect of your life. So recognizing that your beliefs are not facts, but stories that you've told yourself is the first step towards change.
Yes, and number 2, remember that your beliefs are malleable. That means that they can be molded, changed, reshaped. They're not set in stone, and you can update them. So by identifying your limiting beliefs and asking these questions and using the tools in coaching, like the movie theatre, you can start to dismantle those that no longer serve you.
Yes. And number 3, you have the power to choose. Taking conscious control of your beliefs gives you the power to create a new reality, whatever the reality is that you want. And by focusing on empowering beliefs rather than limiting beliefs, you set the stage for a more fulfilling and successful life, whatever success looks like to you. And of course, remember, if you're stuck, we are here to help. Sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees, as they say, and that's where a little guidance can make all the difference.
For sure. And, we'd love to hear from you, hear what beliefs that you're working on changing. We'd love you to share with us on our social media or send us a message. You might just inspire someone else to start their own belief makeover.
Yeah, that's right. And remember, changing beliefs is a process.
Yes.
Okay, it's not an overnight fix. Be patient with yourself and keep taking those small, manageable steps.
That's right. Remember, we believe in you.
Yeah.
So we want you to start believing in yourself too.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's it for today's episode of The Brain Changes. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little brain change in their life. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changes.